Good morning. It is an honor for me to greet you today, and I have some great news. At Television Church London, we have a guest. His name is Ludas Sinkevicius, and he's a practicing psychologist, a PhD candidate, an university lecturer, and a researcher. And one of his specialist areas is addiction psychology. And in his work, Ludas witnessed that for the ones who have accepted the gift of faith, accepted Jesus as their savior, recovery process is much more successful. And for the ones who have not accepted the gift of faith, recovery, healing, much more difficult, much harder. The 12 Steps program, which we'll be referring to, is a recovery program for people struggling with an addiction. And the second step is actually defined as believing that the higher power can help. That is why today it is called, I can do all this for him who gives me strength. I can do all this for him who gives me strength. It comes from Paul's letter to Philippians, chapter 4, verse 13. And if this verse can give me so much strength every day for surrendering my heart to Jesus, to fulfill my services and duties daily, patiently and steadily, with help of this verse. So how much more help and encouragement this verse can give to someone who is feeling maybe completely lost or abandoned or struggling with an addictive pattern he or she may not have even identified or addressed yet. I can do all this for him who gives me strength. So now I invite you to listen to what Ludas is going to share with us. And I wish you a blessed Sunday, a blessed week ahead, and see you next Sunday. Good afternoon, Ludas. You are a practicing psychologist and your specialist areas are legal psychology, child and developmental psychology, and addiction psychology. Also, you are a lecturer in one of the universities in Vilnius. So today I would like to ask a couple of questions about how we could easier recognize if some people around us are developing some addictive patterns possibly, or just struggling with them, or possibly if we see a child who lives in such an environment. So how could we help? And to begin with, could you please first name the biggest challenges field of addiction psychology faces today, and how they accumulated over the years?
Okay. Hello, nice to meet you. And there are a few questions, so I think we're gonna start from first one. Okay. So how we can recognize it? Well, of course, it depends on the age, but the main thing is that most of us are using alcohol, like sitting at home with family and drinking some wine, glass of wine or beer in the bar or something like that. But still, most of us don't have such a problems because of it. Okay, so the thing is that if you are using because you need to change some mood, something's wrong with your emotions, you don't feel good, you need to, when you are taking an alcohol, or drugs and other kind of, and you're feeling better, that's the signal that something's wrong, and maybe there are already a problem or there will be a problem. So I think this is some kind of view, but when it starts, it usually starts in in a teenager age, in teenage. Okay, so children have some problems that psychiatrists cannot see them yet, like some kind of depression symptoms, but it's still not a depression. You cannot diagnose, or like schizophrenia or something else. And they are, well, of course, they are in some social context and trying some kind of drugs as a game, with fellows and something like that. But one of them fits for them, and that means that one regulates in some kind his mood. That part that is not good for him in life. Okay, so and that how becomes addictive mostly, because as all psychiatric diseases, 75% of them comes till 25 years old age. Okay, so, and including an addiction.
You mentioned that the signal that addictive patterns are being possibly formulated, or maybe someone is already struggling, is that those substances, they change mood of one who is using them, yes? And then they, in a way, I understand, they would even plan, they would strive, they want to use it for a change, yes? Because they associate that, okay, I feel bad and I take this and I feel better, yes? And another aspect you mentioned, yeah. So usually people who are under 25, younger than 25, they are like a risk group, we could say. Yes, yeah. I understand.
Yeah, that's because of biology, because the brain system is like growing, yeah, and neurons are connecting between each other, and that's because it's the most dangerous period.
You also mentioned like a problematic context, I think, environment. So that would also be, as I understand, a factor, yes. But how about if we take, for example, two friends, let's say fellow students or classmates in the same school, and they're using, let's say, the same amount, yes, maybe just on Fridays, on Saturdays, a glass of wine or a bottle of beer or something like that, a small bottle. But then for one, some pattern develops and he is becoming possibly addictive to that substance. And for the other, maybe after 5 years, after his student years, he even stops using alcohol. Yeah. So how is that happening? I mean, from a psychological point of view, how could you explain that?
Well, it isn't enough just to know psychology. Okay, you should know genetics. Of course, it plays a role. Genetics, because it is some kind of thing that if you have a genetic predisposition, that means that your parent or grandparent had an addiction, some kind of, so it will you're gonna have it faster if you're gonna start to use something. Okay, so in popular words, to understand kind of genetics, and of course there is a something like from all people who started to use, just about 10% in total, if we're gonna take all the substances, will become addicted. So there is a question why these 10 people had some predisposition. Okay, so and if we're gonna take a look at their childhood, those who already have an addiction, they have pretty hard childhood, childhood. Well, we are talking about adverse childhood experiences. And these two fellows that you've been talking about, you see, maybe one of them is just using some kind of, it's fun for him, okay? Of course, it's fun for another one, but that another one, let's say he's struggling in his family, like the other. Okay, well, we're gonna say parents are not beating him, not drinking, parents, not something like that. That's not a trauma, but maybe they don't love him. Maybe he has an emotional neglect. I had a lot of clients that they are talking about their childhood in a good way. It was perfect, loved, and so on. And you can imagine 45 years, 40 years, people, yeah. And when I'm asking, okay, did somebody told you that they love you? And they are saying no. And can you imagine? And that's just not just from family, from all, from their children, from their husband or wife, and so on. So there is some standard. You see, there is some standard, and of love, there should be a standard. It cannot be like this, that everyone is imagining their own kind of love. Yeah, we can take a look at the psychology theories. Jung had a client that been treating from addiction, and it didn't succeed for the Jung. So he just told him to go to the some kind of Christian group, and maybe they will help you. Maybe God will help you. Okay. So, and from that group was created all the 12 steps, all these programs. About 12 steps. So it kind of works. Percentage is not high, but if we're gonna take a look at that, it's free of charge. It doesn't cost anything. AA doesn't cost anything. 12 steps, they don't have a budget or something like that. So it's good, even 1% or few percent, and they have a higher percentage, but it's still good. About the higher power, okay, it's I saw that it's really hard for people. You see, it's like in Christianity, we know that faith is like a present, yeah, and we cannot just take it. I don't know, just like in the shop, milk, let's go and take it. So you can imagine in the therapy, in 12 steps program, it's a problem just to come and take it.
Thank you, Liz. Now you are talking mostly from psychologist point of view, which is very interesting. But today I also would like to know and to learn a bit, So if we recognize that possibly that person is developing some addictive patterns, struggling maybe, if we know also maybe in family, like you mentioned, in genetics could be some problem, and we recognize it. So how could we help? I mean,
well, I think what we can do is most of our help should be just take a look at the kids. They cannot protect themselves, and they are struggling for sure. They are living in these families. These parents are not guilty as what they do. Okay, by the law of things, maybe they are guilty, but still, probably they had a not so good childhood too. Okay, so they are acting like this, not as an intention, is not to yeah. But so we should just take a look at the families around us, and just don't be in a silent mode. Okay, say to parents, say to some institutions and so on, just to protect these kids. even if these kids say that everything is good. Yeah, it cannot be good if the environment is not good. So about the addiction field, or other mental diseases, there are no difference. But still, I think the thing is that people should understand you cannot think about some kind of, you cannot there is no logic in, if there is some kind of disease like this, you cannot go with your logic normal, okay? And so I think this is you just have to tell where to go, and if he don't goes, so you should go from him. That's the advice. Yeah, if it's a teenager, it's other thing, okay? So teenagers need help, and I think you should organize some kind of help for him, of course, therapy or something like that, and just focus not on kind of addiction things, but in other mental disorder, like what it is, like depression symptoms or anxiety, ADHD or something like that. So.
Thank you very much for this, and have a good day, and thank you for watching. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.